Hey everybody, Lord Tremendous here. Sorry it's been a little while, but I've got another army book review for you. Number 3. This one, obviously, is going to be about the Empire, because it'd be stupid to do Chaos when I have the Empire pictures done. Just real quick, my usual disclaimer. I know what you're thinking. Why are you doing an army book review for a book that's been out forever? I'm not really trying to do this to reinvent the wheel or anything like that. The entire purpose of this is to generate a debate, a discussion, maybe enlighten you a little bit, and myself. You know, every once in a while somebody throws something in the comments section that catches my attention. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. Hell, in the Lizard Man one, I didn't realize that the Stegodon had 2 giant blowpipes on him, and therefore you got 46 shots. And I actually argued with some people about it until I was, smart enough to go and open a book and take a closer look at it. And then I said, nope, I'm right. And then I looked again and I was like, oh yeah, there's words there I should read. And I read it and I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, these things are why I do this. It's so that we all have a better understanding of the other armies, our armies, how to play them, how to play against them, and all that other stuff. So I guess it's not a review as much as just like a personal opinion, which I guess kind of could be a review too. So however you want to look at it, I'm not doing it because I'm trying to break new ground or anything like that. I'm doing it because, well, number 1, I can't play any games right now because where I'm currently at, and number 2, I'm hoping to make us all better gamers by doing so. And so yeah, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, gripes, or whatever, feel free to put them in the comment section as loud and as proud as you want, and we'll discuss it. It'll be great. It'll be soothing. As always, I don't review the fluff. Go check out Garage Hammer Podcast. They're on iTunes. It's free. They're awesome guys. Again, they don't even know that I'm putting this out there, so when they find out, I might get a C&D order. Who knows? Or I might get a thank you. We'll see. But they do a full book review, paid, cover to cover, literally, and they review the fluff. It's great. I learn a lot from listening to those guys, so by all means, go check out Garage Hammer. And if you want their army book reviews, they're a lot more in-depth than mine. I mostly go over the units and the items just for that particular army. Other than that, though, Garage Hammer is the place to go. So here we go. Here are the Army Special Rules. These are Army-wide for the most part. Regimental units. Some units have the option of getting support units called detachments. Only certain units can purchase detachments, so check the book to be sure. The same unit can't be both a regiment and a detachment. It's one or none, it's nerf for nothing. You're not going to get something for nothing there. In battle, regimental units provide their detachments their leadership value, and any special rules the regiment has, the detachment has as well, and these are the ones listed in the book. Frenzy, Hatred, Hold the Line, Immunopsychology, Stubborn, Steadfast, and Stupidity. So if the regimental unit is affected by any of those, the detachment is affected by it as well, which is so cool. And then, of course, we have detachments. They must be deployed at the same time as the regiment, so think of it as deploying like war machines or whatever. Okay, my regiment unit just went down. Here's its detachments. Are you following me? Excellent. They have to be within 3 inches of the regiment, and if the regiment unit is charged, the unit and the regiment unit doesn't flee, the detachments can make a support fire or counter charge reaction, provided they aren't in close combat or fleeing or not within 3 inches or anything like that. But the detachments can only choose 1 charge reaction per turn. So like if you have a unit, if you have an attachment of handgunners or something like that, and your regimental unit gets charged, they go stand and shoot. Well, then another unit charges that unit. They don't get to also counter charge. It's nerf or nothing. You know what I mean? But if they choose to support fire, the detachment gets to stand and shoot at the unit charging the regimental unit, just like they were being charged. And the counter charge is after the opponent moves his chargers. If a counter charge was declared, the controlling player, the detachment unit controller, makes a charge against that unit. And if they make it, they're usually in the flank. You know, in a very rare instance, you'll see them in the rear, but basically you get to countercharge in their flank. So, for example, if your detachment unit of, you know, swordsmen or something like that slams into the flank of this other unit, now, you know, you've got supporting ranks in their flank. They don't have their ranks. You get all those extra attacks while they only get, you know, maybe 4 or 5 back at you. It's actually very useful, especially if, you know, the regimental unit, for example, is a huge unit of great swords or something like that. Very cool ability that's unique to the Empire, and I know it's not reinventing the wheel or anything like that, but it makes baseline troops actually threatening. The Imperial Armory. These are some of the things that are unique only to the Empire. They have something called the Mechanical Steed. It's a war beast, which basically makes it a horse. It's strength 4, toughness 4. It has 1 wound. It does D3 impact hits at strength 4, whoop-de-doo. But then it immediately has the special rule unreliable. At the beginning of every one of your movement phases, you roll a d6. On a 2 to 6, nothing happens, but on a 1, your steed is starting to wind down, and you lose 1 movement or you lose D3 movement for the rest of the game. Why in God's name would you take this piece of garbage? It's not a Monster's Beast mount or anything like that. It's not Monster's Calf, so you don't get toughness 4. It's only got 1 wound, so it's not going to boost your wound characteristic. It's strength 4 with 1 attack at like weapon skill BS, and it does D3 impact hits at strength 4. Even if it was D6 plus 1 impact hits, it's strength. Okay, D6 plus 1 impact hits would actually be a lot better. D3 impact hits at strength 4 though is pretty effing terrible. And this thing's kind of expensive, especially to throw on an engineer who really does not belong in combat for any reason. Other than maybe you just want to have the mechanical horse on the table, why you would take this thing is literally beyond me. What an epic waste of molding. Wow. A better option that they get is full plate armor, which basically grants them a 4-up armor save. So it makes toughness 3 troops crunchy. They have something that I love called the Grenade Launching Blunderbuss. It's an 18-inch range, strength 6, armor-piercing, move or fire, slow to fire, just psychopath thing. I love this thing. Hey, how you doing? Thump. Boom! Yay! I like the grenade launcher upgrade. They've also got the Hochland Long Rifle, which is a 36-inch range, strength 4, armor-piercing, mover fire, slow to fire, sniper rifle. That's right, that caster that you think is safe in your unit, he's dead. It's just, I like this thing. I have watched Empire guys use it, not on my guys, because, you know, my guys can take armor, but on other units, especially other Empire, or anybody who, like, even Dark Elf casters, you know, they've got no armor, they rely on being in a bunker unit or whatever, but then somebody with the sniper special rule gets a line on them and blows them away. It's hilarious. And then they have something that I also like, mostly because of just the short fuse and the more than likely hurt you thing, are pigeon bombs. And honestly, when the book came out, I was surprised that pigeon bombs stayed mostly untouched, because they're pretty effing awful. Only the Master Engineer can take them, and in the shooting phase, you choose a target within 24 inches and roll a d6, and then you consult the chart. On a 1, the stupid-ass pigeon goes back to the Master Engineer and blows up. The small round template goes over the Engineer, and everybody under it takes a strength 4 hit. Not devastating, not game-changing, but that's hilarious. No, kill the bird! On a 2 to 4, nothing happens. The bomb explodes in transit, so you have a 50% chance that nothing happens whatsoever when you use this. Wow, what a useless friggin' thing this is. And then if you roll high, if you roll that 33% chance and roll a huzzah, the pigeon lands on target, a small round template is placed on the target, and everyone touched takes a strength 4 hit. I gotta be honest, as fun as that is, I would never take the pigeon bomb. I like it when people take it just because I think it's hilarious that they would go scaving on me like that. And then next up we got the repeater handgun, which is a 24-inch range, strength 4, armor piercing, mover fire, multiple shots 3 gun. This thing is amazing. The only thing that it compares to would be like the Dark Elf repeater handbow or crossbow, but this thing, other than the mover fire, is really cool. I like this thing a lot, especially if you got like a unit that's going to hold steady and stuff like that. Oof. If you can get a unit to just hold still and then fire, could you imagine like just 5 guys with multiple shots? Just I like it. I like it a lot. And then, of course, we've got the repeater pistol. It's a 12-inch range, strength 4, armor piercing, multiple shots 3, quick to fire gun. It can also be taken as a brace of pistols. I don't know if you get the multiple shots for it or not. You might. I'd have to check the book. I honestly didn't write it down. But this thing is cool too. Much shorter range, but still, I mean, you can move, you can fire. If you get charged, you're going to open up a wall of lead onto these guys. Absolutely love these guns. If you're playing Empire and you have the opportunity to take a repeater pistol, you're shortchanging yourself not to. That's just my opinion. Alright, here we go. The Commanders of the Empire. We have the General of the Empire, who's a Lord, and we have the Captain of the Empire, who's the hero choice. Nothing special about these guys whatsoever. At all. They have one special rule that is called Hold the Line. And basically, while this character is in a unit with this special rule, you basically have cold-blooded against break tests. You get to roll 3d6 for any break test and use the lower 2 dice. That's it. That's what I mean, don't get me wrong, these things are dirt cheap. Neither of them are over 100 points. In fact, the Captain of the Empire is damn near, chump change. Granted, they're butt naked and useless, but you know what I mean. They are dirt cheap base cost. But the hold the line rule, at first, you're like, oh wow, cold-blooded, da-da-da-da-da. It's only against break tests. It's not against panic. It's not against anything else, any spells or anything like that. So you're really not getting a whole heck of a lot out of that. And don't get me wrong, it's not like you're paying extra points for it or anything like that. These guys are bottom barrel dirt cheap, but I don't know. I'm hold the line. Like I said, at first glance, it's like, oh wow, that's a cool rule. And then when you read it and start thinking about it, it's just for break checks. So what you've got there is kind of like an insurance plan. If you lose combat, it's harder to make you break. But I'll just kill the commander and take that away from you. And yeah, I mean, I honestly don't think that Noblars would have trouble taking that in general. The pros, they're very cheap. Dirt cheap character choices. I mean, wow, you could possibly take 3 lords and have points to spare. They're really not expensive at all. The hold the line does give your unit cold-blooded for break checks. It's a generic stubborn. It's a poor man's stubborn. That's kind of nice. It does, if you take a general, you do get access to Leadership 9, which is going to be useful because you're going to take break tests. And all sorts of panic checks. So, I mean, there is a reason to take them, but in my opinion, there's much better choices to take out there. Just a thought. The cons, very average stat line for characters. I mean, wow. It's like they went up to the unit champions in the units and was like, how would you like to be the general today? You get an eye patch and a beard. And they were like, cool, do I have to have any qualifications? No, you don't. You just need a pulse. We're Empire. Life is cheap. I mean, there's nothing impressive about their stat line at all. They are very average characters. They can get a little pricey when making them competitive, and the problem with that is their stat line, their base stat line just isn't good enough to really justify the cost. In my opinion. I know I'm Warriors of Chaos, I know I'm biased, I know I'm spoiled, but hey, this is my opinion. You don't like it? Make your own video and voice a better one, and maybe I'll subscribe. Hey, who knows? And hold the line, it only works with break tests, not panic, not against spells like the Lord Death, not against fear and terror, only break checks. So you got to factor that in. It's a good thing to remember if you're ever playing against them. You don't want them to go, oh, I got hold the line. No, this isn't a break test. I'm charging with a terror causer. See what happens. So keep that in mind and be ready to show your opponent that. But other than that, yeah, there's a better choice when it comes to lords, and that would be the Grand Master. I like this guy. I like this unit choice. He's a lot more expensive than a general base, but he comes with so much more, and he has the stat line to back it up. This guy is actually respectable. He does come with immunopsychology, which can be a bit of a burden, but you don't have to worry about break tests, and stuff like. Well, you don't have to worry about panic checks and stuff like that. You do still have to worry about break. With his stat line, there's a better chance you're not going to lose. He's also got the rule Master of battle, if he joins a unit of Knightly Order or Demigryph Knights, the unit gains immunopsychology. If the Grandmaster leaves that unit for any reason, though, he gets killed, he charges out a unit, he leaves the unit, or whatever, that unit immediately loses immunopsychology. The moment he leaves, immunopsychology no longer applies. Period. So, still. The pros of this guy is he is so much better in combat than a general. So much better. Comes ready to kill, too. Like, you could take him base, and he's a hell of an upgrade for any of them. And you know what? For his point cost, he's not bad. Like, you could possibly take him naked, and I think I'm not 100%, but I think just base, if you don't give him like a great weapon or something like that, he's got a 1-up armor save. You know, 4-up for full plate, shield is a 3-up, barded horse is a 1-up. I mean, he comes with that, and he's relatively cheap for all that. Comes on a steed. You know, he's got 3 wounds. He's got the stat line you would expect out of a lord. He's really good. If you're gonna take a lord that's not a battle wizard, or even if you're gonna take a battle wizard, you got the points still to take this guy. Take him. Even if you're not gonna take Knightly Order or something like that, throw him in a unit of infantry. You know, give him a ward save so that if they try to pick him out with a cannon or something like that, it's harder. But if they're shooting at him too, then they're not shooting at anyone else, which is good because you should have other things on the table looking to kill them. But yeah, this guy is so good. With the Grand Master option, I honestly don't know why you would take a General of the Empire unless you're just stubborn like that, or a fluff reason, or some reason I just haven't figured out. Keep in mind, I have a biased, slanted view, so if you are taking it, I'm not saying don't take it, but if, in my opinion, you're looking for the better choice, take a Grand Master. He is awesome. The cons to this guy, though, is you can't take a Demigryph, which is confusing. His special rule directly correlates with the Demigryph Knights, yet he can't be mounted on a Demigryph. Explain that one to me. You know, why would it be like, oh yeah, by the way, this special rule works with that, but he can be picked out of that unit, so screw you, that's why. I don't get it. And he is immune to psychology. It can be a good thing, but it's a double-edged sword. That could easily turn on you if you end up in a bad position, like on an overrun or a pursue, you know, because you failed your roll to go after him or to restrain, and now you've got your flanks exposed to, you know, hammers or something like that. You can't flee with immune to psychology, so it can be a con. So if you do take this guy and you throw him in a unit, or if you do take this guy, period, you really got to think about that before you do certain things, because there is a chance you're going to SOL yourself. Next up is the Battle Wizards, and these guys I just like. The Lord level is the Battle Wizard Lord, and the Hero level is the Battle Wizard. Yeah, they got creative with the names. They have one special rule, and that's magic. Battle Wizard uses one of the lores from the Big Red Book, which is cool. I mean, they have access to every lore in the BRB, which is pretty cool. I mean, that's one of the things that make elves so devastating, that they can choose from any of the lores in the book. So yeah, these guys are very versatile in the magic realm, and they're pretty good at it too. In my opinion, the pros of these guys are they're honestly costed. You're not paying extra points just because like some friend tax or something like that. What you pay for is exactly what you get. Don't throw this guy into combat, but if you can get angles on him and you've got the right lores, he is going to win the game for you. And yeah, what more can you ask for, right? Gives access to any lore in the BRB, so if you're looking for Lore of Life to help with your buff spells, or Lore of Beast because you're taking a cav heavy army, or Lore of Death because, hey, I need to kill your characters before they kill mine. There's no worries with these guys. They are all badass. So yeah, you've got access to every lore. You don't have to worry about it. Also, they have the most diverse and amazing caster line for the Battle Wizards on foot. I think they've got one representing of every magic lore, so it'd just be fun to collect them, you know? And the Battle Lords have a very large mount option, which is very cool. Like, you could literally throw this guy on an Imperial Griffin. The Battle Wizard, not the Wizard himself. So, just something to think about. Like, hey, I don't want this guy to be on his own, so I'm going to throw in a Pegasus. And basically, with a 4-up board save, he's almost as dangerous as a Sorcerer Lord on a disc, you know, of Tzeentch or something like that. So, these guys are very versatile, and it really adds that extra layer to the Empire that they really need. Cons, nothing overly special about them other than that, which isn't a huge big deal. I know they're Empire, they're the baseline, but there's nothing special about them. They don't get any bonuses to magic or anything like that. They're very baseline, and that's not a terrible thing, but I do consider it a con. Next up is the Master Engineer, and this guy I could do without. I understand why he's in the book. I understand why people take him, but he's got a couple of special rules. Master of Ballistics. If he's not fleeing, a single war machine within 3 inches can use the engineer's ballistic skill and reroll 1 artillery die during the shooting phase. The artillery die that's rerolled cannot be used for the bounce distance, and you must declare which war machine is using the engineer's ability before any war machine within 3 inches of the engineer is fired. If your opponent has one of these guys and he's within 3 inches of like 2 cannons and an organ gun, he cannot fire the cannon and then decide that the organ gun is going to use his ballistic skill. It depends on how much of a jerk you want to be, or it depends if you're in a tournament or a friendly game, but per the rules, if he fires a war machine within 3 inches of the engineer, he cannot use this special rule. Really got to watch that. If you're in a friendly game and stuff like that, you want to remind your opponent of that before he shoots. If you're in a tournament or you're playing for keeps, or you're playing for pinks, I'm still not really sure what that means. Bottom line is, this is a rule that you as an opponent want to be aware of, because it could change the game. I mean, could you imagine if he rolled his second cannon after rolling the first one, and he rolls a misfire and he goes, oh, well, I'm going to use the Master Engineer's ability in a tournament? You'd be like, no, you're not, because you didn't declare that the cannon was using that ability prior to you rolling that artillery die. It doesn't work like that, brother. And you can point him right to the Master of Ballistics rule, and it's verbatim, no, before it's shot. Are you going to be invited to his birthday party? Probably not, but he is technically cheating by doing it the other way. You don't get to find out what happens in Warhammer first and then use the rule to try to fix it. So that's just one of those things that's kind of important. Keep that in, keep that under your hat in those situations. And it's also a cool thing to do if you're playing a friendly game. Hey, before you roll that die, which guy is going to use your Master Engineer's ability? Because you have to declare it before you shoot. You could be the good guy or the bad guy or the right guy in either way. So think about that. Also, if he uses this ability, he can't fire his own weapon in this turn, period. So his next rule is the Stand Back Sir rule, which is the rule that the dwarves inherited. If the engineer is within 3 inches of a war machine, he gets a 4-up Lookout Sir roll. If he does roll that 4-up, the hit, it doesn't disappear, it's resolved against that war machine. So that's something else to remember. I just hit you with a magic missile. You are totally entitled to let that cannon that's 2 inches away take that Lookout Sir, but for every 4-up you roll, that magic missile or cannonball or whatever it is now being resolved against the cannon. Don't just throw those dice away. The wound doesn't go away, it goes against the war machine. Something else to remember as an opponent. Very important. The pros, in my opinion, are the Master Engineer does make the war machines more reliable. He can add his ballistic skill, he can reroll an artillery die, and if you're shooting at him, you're probably going to end up hitting the war machine. You have a 50% chance of hitting a war machine instead. The Engineer models are pretty cool. I do like them. I think GW hit it out of the park with those guys, and I've seen some conversions that really drop my jaw. Finally, a character model with special rules. I know the Grand Master has one, but these guys finally have, something special about them. These guys are punishingly cheap for what they can do. And cool kit upgrade options. They got a lot of cool stuff that they can take, and like the mechanical steed. It is kind of cool, it's just kind of useless. But yeah, it isn't a terrible hero choice. The cons, these guys are awful in close combat. If they ever get in the close combat, just pick up the model. Pick up the model and apologize that you made your opponent charge like that. And outside of the shooting realm, they're really awful. They don't really add anything to the army. They have one job, so use them for that purpose. Next up, we got our Warrior Priests. Probably one of the coolest upgrades in the book, in my opinion. You have the Archlector as the Lord choice, and you have the Warrior Priest for the hero choice. Both of them have the Divine Power special rule, which basically lets them channel power and dispel dice like they were casters, which is really, really cool. And then they have Righteous Fury. Basically, the priest and any unit he's in has the Hatred special rule. Other characters do not gain this rule, so if you have your General of the Empire in that unit, he does not have Hatred. If you have a Grand Master in a unit, he does not gain Hatred. The unit does, the characters do not. Also an important thing to remember, I have had to correct opponents before with that, simply because they see hatred and it's like everybody. Nope, it specifically says in the special rule that other characters in the unit do not gain hatred. Very important, because let's face it, you do not want characters re-rolling failed to hits because of this rule. A couple other things they got is Battle Prayers. These are badass. I like these spells. Warrior Priests know 3 and 8 bound power level 3 spells. They're augments that target the priest and his unit. If a regiment gets the spell, the detachment gets it as well if they're within 3 inches of the regimental unit. Now keep that in mind. The only unit that can be targeted by battle prayers are the unit that the warrior priest is in. Now, of course, the detachments get it as well if there are any, but don't let your opponent be like, oh, I'm going to throw this over here on these guys. No, you're not. It can only go in that unit. So keep that in mind before you end up seeing these power or these bound spells being cast on units other than the one that he's in. Not every guy's going to do it, and if they do it, it's more than likely an accident. But be prepared to correct that mistake so that not only do they become better Empire generals, but you don't shortchange yourself and end up allowing him to do something with rules that he's not allowed. You wouldn't let me fire my flaming breath like a cannonball just because, so don't let them do that just because. But the 3 bound spells are like the Hammer of Sigmar. Basically, the unit gets to re-roll failed to wound rolls till the next magic phase. It's an augment, duh. Shield of Faith, which gives the unit a 5-up ward save till the next magic phase, which bound power level 3, and the whole unit's got a 5-up ward save. I mean, that's incredible. That is just absolutely incredible. And then Soulfire, the unit gains flaming attacks, and in addition, when it's cast, all enemy models in base-to-base contact take a strength 4 hit. Undead, Tomb Kings, and demonic models take a strength 5 hit instead with no armor saves allowed. Soulfire is terrifying. I've got plenty of opponents that play with regen only guys. Hell, I play with a lot of regen. To have Soulfire go off is bad. It's like getting a big fireball in the face. You don't want it, don't let it go off. And if you're an Empire guy, 6 dice it. It's an innate bound power level 3 spell. If you irresistible force it, there's all the benefit of it going off irresistible and none of the negative. Do it. Kamikaze cast the hell out of these spells. These are your bread and butter right here. The pros, these guys are unit enhancers. Take them. Don't give them anything. They are so cheap. They are so cheap. They give you 4, and I don't even care if this is bad. They're 65 points butt naked, and you get hatred instantly. You get to channel power and dispel dice, and you get 3 bound power level 3 spells that can affect the unit so easily. If you irresistible force it, you get all the benefit and none of the detriment. Oh my god. These guys are undercosted. Butt naked. I wouldn't give them anything. I would have like 12 in my army. Even at like 1,000 points, I would somehow fit 12 in there. I don't know how I would do it. That'd be cheating, but I'm telling you, man, if you play Empire and you don't have at least 2 warrior priests, and that's being really skimping, if you don't have at least 2 warrior priests in your army, the reason you're losing is because you've only got 2 warrior priests in your army. These guys are so amazingly good. I mean, their stat line is basic for a hero. It's what I would expect, so I don't have a problem with their stat line or anything like that. But giving the unit hatred, giving the unit the opportunity to get those spells, giving you the ability to channel power and dispel dice, all for 65 points. Are you flipping kidding me? I would take human life for an option like that at that point cost. in a Warriors of Chaos army. That'd be all I would take. I would take 625 points worth of warrior priests in my army every single time. BSB be damned. These guys are your bread and butter. If you don't have warrior priests in your army, go play Bretonnians. You're shortchanging yourself. Cons, they have a basic stat line. I'm used to Exalted Heroes. I'm used to it. It's what I like. It's what I look for. These guys do have a basic stat line. I've got to call it a con. I know. They're just humans, blah, blah, blah. You're right. You are, but I see it as a con. Because it is. These guys are not powerhouses in battle. They are unit enhancers. Use them as such and let your numbers just eat all your enemies alive. Oh, I love warrior priests. Plus the models, let's face it, the models are really cool. I mean, look at that bald-headed freak right there. He's dangerous as hell. Next up, we got your Zealots. Oh, I'm sorry, Witch Hunters. They come with magic resistance too, which, it's not bad. It's not bad, you know. I mean, butt naked, he comes with it. I'll take it. And he's got the special rule Accusation. This is cool. After deployment, but before the first turn begins, select one enemy model anywhere in the army. This is the Witch Hunter's Quarry. The Witch Hunter gets to reroll failed to hits against this model and gets Killing Blow against that model, even if from shooting, and can shoot at that model as if he had the Sniper special rule. So this guy is your assassin that's hiding in plain sight. He is there to kill a guy. I'm here to F your couch. Not only is he going to be really good at, stabbing him in close combat, he doesn't need to get into close combat. He takes his gun, he takes aim, and he shoots at this guy for 3 rounds until either he comes at you or you take him out. I would personally leave him over by the war machines and just have a field day. I would take one of these guys and call out one of his casters, Most casters aren't going to be Warriors of Chaos casters. They're not going to have, special armor or anything like that. And you're going to be able to take them out relatively easy. Hell, if I was playing these guys and I played another Empire guy, I'd shoot at the Warrior Priests and just snipe them out of the unit as quick as I could. These guys are great for character taking out stuff. And yeah, if you're not going to just completely overload yourself on Warrior Priests, I would take 1 or 2. These guys are pretty cool. They've also got Grim Resolve. They auto-pass fear checks. Just, I'm good. Even if the unit that they're in fails the fear check, they won't be affected by it. Also, the Witch Hunter and his unit treat terror as fear instead. So that's cool. If the Witch Hunter's in a unit and they get charged by a terror causer, they auto-pass because they don't care. They will have to take a fear check in the resulting combat, but you don't have to worry about terror as much, which is really cool. They do not auto-pass checks... They do not auto-pass checks caused by terror, though. So just be careful with that. If the unit causes fear, but they're in combat with a terror causer. Well, I'm sorry. If the unit is in combat with a terror causer, they do still need to take a fear check. So Grim Resolve is still kind of useful, especially for free. Last but not least is the Tools of Judgment. When attacking wizards, undead, Tomb Kings, or demonic models, the Witch Hunter rerolls failed to wound rolls in close combat. So yeah, in close combat even, this guy is dangerous. Kit it out properly. Especially against wizards. Yeah, you don't want a Witch Hunter to get into your wizards. He's going to tear them up pretty good. The pros for this guy, he's a great assassin character. If you're looking to pick off models, this guy is the model for you. He is so cheap for what he can do with the assassination and stuff like that. I love their special rules. They're very cool special rules. The models themselves are really badass, and I love their fluff. I know I didn't go over the fluff or anything like that, but I really like these guys' fluff. It's really funny. The cons, again, basic stat line. In close combat, unless you kit them out properly, these guys are a joke. So just keep it in mind when you're fielding them. Their strengths are not in combat, not without mega support, Next up is the Imperial Zoo. These are the mounts that certain characters can take and stuff like that. They're in the book. I figured I'd go over them. Number 1 is the Imperial Griffin. I love this model. I really do. I wish I could figure out a way to incorporate it into the Warriors of Chaos army. But I just can't. It's too big to fit on a 50 mil base, and I've already got a War Shrine, so... But yeah, they've got the Fly special rule, large target, and terror. and their upgrades are Blood Roar. This is exactly like the Lizardman one for the Carnosaur. Enemy units roll an extra d6 when taking leadership checks for fear or terror from this model, and then you discard the lowest dice, and that's what they got to take. Blood Roar alone could win you a game by causing unit to break. I've seen it. I've been the victim of it. That is if you're going to take an Imperial Griffin, you have to take the Blood Roar rule, or you're just shortchanging yourself. You are totally missing huge amounts of potential from this thing. The next one it's got is called Two Heads. It gains a chomp attack. You roll it separately, and this attack gains +1 to hit against large targets. It could have been so much cooler. I really don't see how that's a great upgrade. You give him +1 attack, and if it's against a large target, he gets a +1 to hit with that one attack. Whoop the effing do. If I'm fighting a large target with this guy, I'd rather do multiple wounds or something like that. Not get another attack that's got +1 better chance to hit him. Who the heck cares? Next up is the Imperial Dragon with the Fly, Large Target, Scaly Skin 3+, and the Terror. He's got Fiery Breath, which is a Strength 4 flaming attack, but the only thing that can take this thing is Karl Franz, which is a special character. I don't even know why they bothered to put it in the damn book. Maybe something else can take it, and I missed it. I'm not, exactly positive that I'm right about that, but as far as I can tell, only Karl Franz can take the dragon. And so, yeah, I'm looking over the book right now as we're talking. Well, as I'm talking anyway. I guess you're really not saying anything to me. And none of the other lords can take it. I don't see why they bothered putting it there. I think maybe it was just, hey, let's fill the page. But yeah, it's kind of a useless thing to even go over. Next up is the Imperial Pegasi. Basically, it can fly. And the upgrades to this thing are Ironhard Hooves. Basically, it rerolls failed to wound stomp attacks. And Swift as the Wind. Reroll 1s when determining charge distance. I like this thing, but I see it more as a utility mount for my wizards. I'm going to throw my battle wizard with a 4-up ward save on a Pegasus. I'm going to let him fly around. Basically the same reason you would put a Sorcerer Lord on a disc. Or anything else on that things that fly. It's to get them in the range, get them in the combat. Maybe I would throw like a warrior priest on one. Well, if a warrior priest could take one, but whatever I could, like a hero choice on one of these guys, and use them as like a war machine hunter or a chaff killer or something like that. Ironhard Hooves is cool, although you're only getting one to stomp attack at like strength 3 or 4. It's not really necessary. I guess if you had the extra points and you just wanted it's kind of a neat little, woohoo, but I don't think it's going to win you any games. As for Swift as the Wind, that I would take every time I took the Imperial Pegasus for models that were supposed to be my hunters, like chaff hunters or war machine hunters and stuff like that. Rerolling 1s when determining your charge distance, that's phenomenal. And I don't care how many points it is, it's worth every single one. So my suggestion would be, if you're going to throw something on a Pegasi and they're supposed to be charging things, take Swift as the Wind. Leave Ironhard Hooves alone. The pros, the Imperial Griffins are amazing. If you can take one, especially if you're going to take a useless general, you might as well put him on an awesome friggin' mount. He may not win you a whole lot of games because the general sucks, but the Griffin should. And if not, you have the coolest model on the table. The Griffins have a great stat line. They should have had... In my opinion, if you're going to take a general, you might as well take the Imperial Griffin. Just my suggestion, or my preference. I'm not saying that it's mandatory or that people should shun you if you don't, but I might. I'm not going to lie. The Pegasi adds some much-needed quickness to the characters. It gives them the ability to get where you need them to get, angling shots and stuff like that. With magic missiles or whatnot, since you have access to all the lores in the BRB. If you want to do your assassin missions like the Dark Elves do with Lore of Death, you could do that now and still be able to give them a decent ward save to take care of anything else that's shot or fired at them and stuff like that. So I like the Pegasi for that. And any chance I would get to use Blood Roar is worth its weight in platinum, and I'm not exaggerating. Charging a unit with leadership 7 or 8, the general's dead or gone or whatever, or out of range, and you charge something with this flying, swift stride movement 10 plus 2d6, thing, and it's got a really good chance to flee. You roll 3d6, and you can very easily roll a 9, 10, 11, or 12, flee, and get run down by this guy. And that alone, I mean, that little bitty upgrade alone is so worth taking them. I love Blood Roar, and I didn't even realize that the Imperial Griffins had that until I was doing this report. Totally should take that for that. The cons, only Karl Franz can take the dragon, which is epic amounts of BS. I mean, don't tell me, oh, there's only one dragon in the whole empire. Yeah, well, there's only like 4 functioning steam tanks in the whole empire too, yet everybody seems to have 2 nowadays, so don't tell me that. That's garbage. If you're gonna give the army the ability to look at the dragon, let them take it on something other than your mega special character that most people don't even allow. Ugh, stupid. And this is just a personal thing. I think the Pegasi should cause fear. Just a personal preference. I'm going to consider it a con because it's my report. I think the Pegasi should cause fear. That's just my opinion. Next up are the state troops, which are archers, which are detachments. They could be regiments, although I don't know why. And they're skirmishers, so that's kind of cool. And then you have the swordsmen, spearmen, halberdiers unit, which is all pretty much state troops. And they have the detachment and regiment special rule, no matter what flavor you take. Pros of these guys, they are an insanely cheap core choice. I mean, wow, are they cheap. I think Skaven are the only guys that have core choices that are cheaper. They can take multiple large, you can take multiple large groups. In fact, you probably should. I mean, you need to fill up your core choice anyway, right? Many options with the regiment detachment option. I really like the way they're doing that and stuff and how it could work out. And you have a lot of flavors to choose from. Halberdiers are my personal liking because, you know, now they're strength 4 at least. But there's something to be said for state troops with hand weapon and shields. You know, a big old block of anvil so that your 2 detachment units of halberdiers can slam into the flanks and do some damage. I mean, tar pit, hammer, you know, type of thing. Yeah, they're core choices that on paper look like crap, but in use, if you do it right with the right numbers, you could really have something there. The cons, I put base stats just simply because, I mean, I don't take Marauders because of their stat line. I know, you don't have to say it. I see it as a con. It's just my opinion. Take a breath. But one problem that I do have is they can't take any magic standards whatsoever. Not one state troop choice can take a magic standard. I got a little bit of a problem with that. Empire's been around for a while. They should have access to these magical banners. Maybe just 25 points worth of magic banners. Let them take the flaming attack banner. Let them take the +1 movement banner. That's what the F they're there for, GW. What are you doing? Let these guys take a magic banner. Give them 25 points of magic banner. Give them 20 points. Give them 10. Give them something. I mean, it's not like, oh gosh, their stat lines are so good, they don't need magic banners. Let them take a magic banner. Alright? I mean, come on. High elves can, dark elves can take it on every core choice they have. So, but Empire guys, sorry, you don't get any magic banners. I know you're defending your outpost, but flaming attacks against the trolls, that's ridiculous. Next up is your Militia and Huntsmen, and that's exactly what they are. The Militia have the detachment special rule, so you will not take these guys by themselves. They have to come as a detachment. I'm pretty sure on that one. No, I'm sorry, that's not true. You could take Militia without making them a detachment to a regiment. They just could never be a regiment. They couldn't have detachments of their own. And you've got the Huntsmen, which are your scouts and your skirmishers. Basically, the pros that I see with these guys are the Militia give you an extra hand weapon option. If you're looking for a core choice that does extra strength 3 attacks, these are your guys. They have the exact same stat line as the state troops, only for some reason they decided to call them Militia and give them the extra hand weapon option. Only, I guess it's a fluff reason. I'm not really sure. And the Huntsmen give you a dirt cheap scout option, which is really cool. Do not underestimate scouts, especially skirmishing scouts. They get in there deep early on. They're able to do a lot of good, especially if there's war machines or any kind of fast cav, or not, probably not fast cav, but any kind of, you know, stuff in the back, support units, you know, like war shrines and stuff like that. These guys can harass them. It's good for, you know, early march blocking and stuff too. That's kind of cool. So yeah, I could definitely see a use for the Huntsmen. The Militia are going to be very circumstantial. The cons, why not give the Empire soldiers extra hand weapon option and remove the what's it called? The militia. I don't understand why they're in the army. It must be a fluff reason. And yeah, that's really it. Yeah, of course, there's the base stats too, but I'm not going to keep mentioning that because it's, well, you guys know how I feel about that. Next up are the cool guys, the Great Swordsmen. They're a regimental unit and they're stubborn. I love these guys. They're the Empire's version of White Lions, and they are cocky as hell about it. I love their fluff. I love these guys. The pros are I'm absolutely in love with the Great Swords unit. I love that it's a bunch of old men with sharpened eye beams going just so full of themselves. You know, they should be dead, but their arrogance carries them on. I absolutely love these guys. There's nothing but win in these guys. The stubborn great weapon users, and they're a regiment unit, so you can take detachments on these guys. So you've got every support option you could possibly think for these guys. I absolutely love it. They're devastating. When I see them on the table, they're usually in horde formation, and I'm scared to death of them. I mean, imagine a horde unit with a warrior priest inside. You know, they've got, you know, some stuff behind them or around them, buffing them even more. I mean, hatred, potentially a 5-up ward save with a 4-up armor. I mean, these guys are chaos warriors without the weapon skill. Very, very cool. I really do love these guys, and I'm a huge fan of the models. The wavy sword, the one that it's not a straight line. It's kind of wavy. I absolutely love that. The cons of these guys, the one fault that I have with these guys are that they're base strength 3. For F's sakes, GW, Dark Elf Executioners are base strength 4. Why in God's name aren't these human badasses with sharpened eye beams that they've been wielding their entire adult lives base strength 3? What in God's name were you thinking about? I mean, if there's an Executioner Elite special choice that's base strength 4 with the exact same kit out, other than these guys have full plate and Executioners have a 5-up, Executioners also have always strike first and everything like that. Why in God's name aren't these guys base strength 4? It's stupid. I think it's wrong. I think GW did these guys a disservice, and I'm pissed about it. And I'm going to vent it here because I can. And so there, that's how I feel about it. You disagree? Throw it in the comments section. We'll debate. It'll be fun. Next up are the creepiest unit in the book, Flagellants. I know I probably say it wrong, but I like the way I say it, so deal with it. They are frenzied and they are unbreakable, which is very cool. And they also have one of the funniest special rules in the game. The end is nigh. When Flagellants are in base-to-base contact with an enemy unit at the start of any close combat phase, they take D6 strength 3 hits. Total up the amount of unsaved wounds they suffer due to these hits, and then refer to the chart. If only one dies, they get something called Fanatical Fury. They get to re-roll their failed to hit rolls, which is cool. I mean, it gives them the potential to hate every single... basically, they're going to have hatred every single round. If 2 or 3 of them die, they're going to get the Strength of the Penitent, which they get to re-roll all failed to hit and wound rolls, which is hatred, and I get to re-roll wounds. There's no rule for that other than awesome. So these guys are potential hammers, you know what I mean? And then if you kill 4 or more of them, they become insensible to pain. They get +1 toughness, which, you know, now they become toughness 4, which is respectable. They get to reroll all failed to hit and wound rolls, and that is fanatic. I mean, that's insane. That's insane. They get +1 toughness, they're rerolling hits and wounds, and all at the cost of 4 or more guys. They've got the potential to be really badass. Models martyred like this do not count towards the enemy combat resolution, so don't let them tell you otherwise, and don't try to pull that on your Empire opponent. It's a dick move. Don't be a dick. And the effects last until the end of the current close combat phase. They are not cumulative. They don't add every single round. They end at the end of that close combat phase, and you have to re-roll for it at the beginning of the next one. And it doesn't start, if they've rolled forward, it doesn't continue like that. I've seen Empire players try to pull that. That's garbage. Call them on it and then punch them in the mouth. It's the only way they'll learn. The pros of these guys, it's a solid unbreakable unit. I like this unit because it's unbreakable and it's dangerous. If your opponent is stupid enough to ignore them, you should be smart enough to use that stupidity against them. Throw it at them, make them pay for their stupidity. It's the only way they'll learn. The martyr chart is respectable. I mean, even if you only kill one guy, you've got hatred, so it's very cool. Flails give them a little bit of bite in that first round of combat. You know, strength 5 is nothing to scoff at. They're hilarious to use. I love every time I fight against Flagellants. I like slamming my units into them and go, see how many guys you get to pick up before we start. And in my opinion, it's a great tar pit unit. 20 of these guys thrown forward, allowing people to charge into them and stuff. They're not going anywhere. If one guy survives, you're good to go. And once you survive that first round of combat, now the rest of your stuff can charge into the flanks. So it's a great way to deal with knights and stuff like that. Like this unit a lot. The cons to them, in my opinion, they are more expensive than great swords. I don't understand their point costs. I get that they're unbreakable. I get that they're frenzied and stuff like that. That's cool and all, but I don't think they should be more expensive than Flagellants because you need to take large units in order to make them worthwhile. We're talking 20 plus. If you take 10 to 15 or less, they're going to get killed right off the bat. And they're going to be useless because not only are you taking anywhere from 1 to 6 off the table, every combat phase, but your opponents are tearing right through them because they've got crap stat lines. They're weapon skill 3, toughness 3 with absolutely no save. So really, you need to be careful with these guys, and you need to take bigger units in order to make them useful, but they're expensive. And it's a lot of points to pretty much give up to your opponent. And honestly, the unit is kind of disturbing to look at. If you've looked at them, especially if the guy who's fielded them is a good painter or a great painter or whatever, it's kind of disturbing to look at them. I mean, they're really messed up models. They're doing a lot of self torture and stuff. It's you might need a little therapy after you're done playing against them or putting them together and stuff like that. They're kind of messed up. Next up are the Knightly Orders. There's nothing special about these guys other than the upgrade they can take, and one unit of Knightly Order guys can be upgraded to Inner Circle. Yeah, basically Inner Circle Knights are better. They're strength 4. Other than that, everything else is the same. And they can take a magic banner, which is kind of cool. The pros of these guys are they are a phenomenal core option for cavalry. If you want to stay away from infantry and the detachment regiment unit, Knightly Order guys give you that ability. I mean, you could throw a warrior priest in these guys and give them the hatred rule, plus the access to all the battle prayers, plus of course the warrior priest channels. But these guys are your option if you want to stay away from foot slogging infantry. You know what I mean? They're pretty cheap for cavalry too, considering that they come standard with a 1-up armor save. That's pretty cool. They come with lances, so you're already going to be hitting at strength 5 on the charge. Or if you're willing to rely on your 1-up armor save and potential 5-up board save, thanks to your warrior priest, you can give them great weapons for free. You drop the lances and you get great weapons for free. You don't even have to pay extra. In fact, there's nothing you really have to pay extra for other than the full command with these guys. I really like these guys. And even if you do just want them as like a support cavalry unit or whatever, they're filling up your core choice. And they're really good for their points cost. There's no reason not to take these guys. And Inner Circle Knights come with strength 4. I like that upgrade. It's worth it. It's only a few points. It's not that bad. I would do it, especially if I was only going to take one unit. The cons, unless upgraded to Inner Circle, you can't take a magic banner, which I know I've already griped about that a little bit, but I'm going to do it again because it's bugging me. I think it's garbage. I think that at least one unit of core that isn't upgraded to Inner Circle should be allowed to take a magic banner. It's just how I feel, and it's going to be hard to take me off of that. Next up is the Useless Knights, or Reichsguard. The only thing that really differentiates these guys from the Knightly Order is they come with Stubborn. But their point cost per model is so much more. It's cheaper to take a warrior priest and give him, which you would probably put in this unit anyway, and or into a unit of Knightly Order or Inner Circle Knights, and just give them the Crown of Command. The pros of these guys are they're stubborn, which is cool, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing different about them other than stubborn compared to Knightly Order. Nothing. These guys are Knightly Order guys with stubborn. That's their difference. I don't understand at all why they're like that. You know, okay, well, I guess they're inner circle because they are strength 4 base, so you do got that. But the point cost in between them, I mean, you're going to throw a warrior priest in with these guys, so why not just save some points, buy the warrior priest you're going to buy anyway, give them the crown of command, and throw them in unit and just have them decline challenges. I don't know. Maybe if you just like the Reichsguard fluff, or maybe the models appeal to you, but you could use them for knightly orders as well. I don't know. I don't understand why you would take these guys. They're expensive inner circle knights with stubborn, no access to great weapons, nothing more interesting about them than stubborn, which you could get on the knightly order guys by throwing a warrior priest in there who's dirt cheap. We've already been over this, and he gives the unit hatred, he gives the unit the access to the battle prayers, he gives your army one more channeling die. I mean, it's just so, and it's cheaper. It's smarter to do it that way because, okay, I'm going to get into combat. Okay, challenged. Warrior Priest declines. You know, he's the only one in the unit that could take it, hopefully. And then he goes to the back. Still stubborn. There you go. They're Knightly Order Reichsguard without the points. And they're just much better used to points. I think this is a crap unit. I think this unit was thrown in there because of fluff, and I don't honestly understand why people would take it. There's just no reason for it. Here they come, the Demigryph Knights. Their special rules, the Demigryphs only have armor piercing, and they cause fear. Never underestimate fear. I love these guys. They're inner circle knights on chocobos. And if you're playing Final Fantasy, I do play Final Fantasy. I love these guys. They are so good. And they look so cool. The big angry chickens with armor. Oh, I love this armor. I love this army. It's a 1-up armor save for any Empire army. They can take halberds for free. And I mean, yeah, you become a 2-up armor save, but so worth it. I love this unit so hard. It's a solid unit. The Demigryphs are your powerhouse. The inner circle knights riding them mean nothing. Who cares? They give you an extra attack. I don't care about that at all. But the fact that these bad boys are like 3 attacks, armor piercing, they're so good. Oh, I love this unit. There's nothing bad about this unit other than I don't own any. And they're insanely expensive, but they're worth it. I mean, you pay for what you get. It's just they're really pricey. You will not see like 12 of these guys in a 2,400 point game, but you don't need 12. I mean, 2 units of 3 or 4, and you're set. Oh, I love this unit. I love them so hard. They're so great. Oh. Had to. Totally worth it. Not even apologizing. Next up is the Pistoliers and the Outriders. Basically, we've got Pistoliers and Outriders. I know, didn't see that one coming, huh? Both of them basically have the fast cav special rule, which it's cool. I mean, it's obvious that the Empire were going to have a fast cav option, but these guys are a little bit more than just regular fast cav. Their ability to shoot with those repeater guns and stuff like that, or the grenade launcher and stuff like that, these guys are serious powerhouses in the shooting phase if used correctly. They're solid the pros and cons to them are they're solid fast cav options for the Empire. The Outriders have a great ballistic skill at 4 and 5 if you take the unit champion. They're going to hit. You know, they're pretty badass. An incredible amount of shots from such a small number. I love seeing these guys when the Empire guy uses them as screens. Like they'll throw them in front of a regimental unit, and they'll just stand there. And these guys will just stand in front of them, and they'll stand and shoot if it's too far out. Or sometimes, hey, they'll stand there, let them charge like the Outriders. They'll do a ton of it, a stand and shoot option to them. And then when they inevitably lose and get run down and break, the guy will overrun into the regimental unit, and then the 2 detachments will countercharge and stuff like that. These guys can be used to really thin out some numbers. I watched them take care of a horde unit of savage orcs once. It was very impressive. There's just so many shots coming out of such a small unit. It's really impressive. And it shocks a lot of opponents. You know, they see fast cav, they see the guns, and they're like, oh, what am I going to do? And then all of a sudden they're tearing through their army. Like, oh my god, what am I going to do? And like I said, the Outriders have access to the grenade launcher. You have a grenade launcher option. Why you wouldn't take that is beyond me. The only cons I can really think is that they're kind of expensive for fast cav, but for what they do, I understand why. And I think Pistoliers should be core, personally. Drop the militia, give the state troops, you know, the swordsmen, the option to have 2 swords, and you could easily throw Pistoliers in there as a core choice. That's just my opinion. I know they're probably a little bit too good for core choice, but it's my opinion. It's just how I feel. Next up is the Alter of Sigmar. It's a large target, it's stubborn, and it has a 4-up ward save. It's got some pretty cool special rules too. Holy Fervor, basically all friendly units within 6 inches of the altar gain hatred. For you guys that don't want to take warrior priests, take a war altar and throw a warrior priest on it. Yeah, or I think an arc lector is the only one that can take it. But bottom line is, this thing, if you don't want to take war priests, this thing can be the big war priest for you, as long as you keep it within 6 inches of all those units that are going to need it. It's also got the Power of Sigmar, or Power of Greyskull as I like to think of it. Basically, any battle prayer that's cast by the Arc Lector or Volkmar on this thing also targets all friend units within 6 inches of the altar. So remember when I was talking about like kamikaze casting, throwing 6 dice at everything? Now it's affecting now you're bubbling it out. This is everything that it needs to be. I mean, okay, great. Now I'm going to have a 6-inch bubble worth of 5-up ward saves. Now I'm going to have a 6-inch bubble of rerolling wounds. Now I'm going to have hatred everywhere. This thing is a powerhouse of support. You can also take a couple of magic item upgrades. The Golden Griffin, it's an enchanted item. It's an innate bound, power level 4 spell. Basically, it allows you to cast Banishment from the Lorelite. Banishment is a terrifying spell, especially if you play demons or undead. Great item to have. And then, of course, there's the Horn of Sigismund. It's another enchanted item. Basically, it makes the altar cause terror. Who the frick cares? Couldn't care less about terror. If you take it, whoop de effing do. If you want terror to work for you, take an Imperial Griffin with Blood Roar. Otherwise, I really don't see the purpose in taking that other than, hey, I had some points left over. The pros of this thing, it is a powerhouse of support. It does bubble effects. If this thing's within 6 inches of your army, it is 6 inches of win button. Gives you hatred. Gives you battle prayers, 6-inch bubble. Oh, I like this thing a lot. And if it's in combat, it's stubborn, it's got a 4-up ward. This thing could be... I would charge this thing into a unit of warriors and have fun with it, you know? I mean, just, hey, I'm going to try to tear you up. It's slightly more expensive than a Chaos War Shrine, but so much better. And by slightly better, I mean less than 15 points more expensive, you know what I mean? It's insane how much better this thing is and how cheap it is. It is the ultimate support chariot. It really, really is. And the battle prayer bubbles and just all the bubbles that it gives you, it's the best way to take an Arc Lector. If you're going to take an Arc Lector for whatever reason, put him on a War Altar of Sigmar. You're cheating yourself not to. You're not using to his full potential. The only cons of this thing is the model is really ugly. I mean, this thing it's hard to look at for any extended period of time. It's like, wow, that thing looks wrong. Dwarves are shunning it, let me tell you. Next up is the artillery of the Empire, something that they're known for. Great cannons. Strength 10. It's an effing cannon. It's a great cannon. If you played Warhammer, you know what a friggin' cannon is. I shouldn't have to explain it to you. Next up is the Hellblaster Volley Gun. It's a 24-inch range, strength 5, armor-piercing war machine. To fire it, you roll 3 artillery die, and you see what the results are. If you roll 1 misfire, you just half the amount of shots you get. If you roll 2 misfires, you roll on the black powder misfire chart, which could make it explode. And if you roll 3 misfires, that's really bad, and maybe you should, do some charity work or volunteer time or something like that, because your karma is really bad. But the gun fires all 30 shots, and then it explodes. So it's a Merry Christmas misfire, I'll give you that one, but it's bad because you're going to lose your over 100-point war machine. And that kind of sucks. But 30 shots is still nothing to snub your nose at, you know what I mean? If 0 misfires are rolled, however, and let's face it, that's what you're going for, total up the amount of the numbers on all 3 dice, and that's the amount of shots you get to roll to hit with. It's a badass strength 5, 24-inch range, armor-piercing war machine. It's basically a whole bunch of archers with guns sitting in there, and you just don't know how many you're going to shoot each turn. I love this thing. Just remember, you do have to roll to hit now, Empire guys. I know the book's been out for a while. This is old news. I've seen some Empire guys, quote unquote, forget they had to roll to hit. So yeah, remember, you roll to hit. The pros of this bad boy. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the. Next up is the Hellstrom Rocket Battery. It's your 48-inch range, strength 3, 3 in the hole, armor-piercing war machine. Basically, how you fire this one is you roll a d3, and that's how many small templates you're going to roll. Basically, after replacing the initial position for the first template, you roll an artillery and a scatter dice, but you roll a scatter die for each shot. Basically, if you roll 2 on your d3, you roll 2 scatter dice. This is where the rockets hit. If a misfire is rolled on the artillery die, consult the black powder misfire chart and see what happens there. However, even if you don't roll a misfire chart, even if you roll hits, the rockets always fire as if it was indirect, even if you have line of sight to your target. So you always have to scatter. Remember that if somebody's using a rocket battery on you. Hits still scatter. Resolve those hits the same as you would for a stone thrower. Next up is the mortar, and this thing is badass. It's a 12 to 48-inch range, strength 2, 6 underneath the hole, armor piercing, D3 under the hole, multiple wounds. So it's a very, very cool version of the stone thrower. You fire it just like a stone thrower, only you use the large round template. If a misfire is rolled, of course, you consult the black power to misfire chart. I like the mortar better than the rocket battery, even the cannon, because it's such a big pie plate, and although it is only strength 2, you get so many hits, especially against toughness 3 guys or rank and file, or especially horde bricks and stuff like that. It is amazing. And at strength 6 with D3 wounds, armor piercing, if you have a monster or 2 out there, you got a mortar team that doesn't have a better target, you could potentially put some serious pain on a monster. I mean, this thing is no joke. Don't snub your nose at mortars. They are dangerous. If I saw mortars on the table and no cannons, I would be nervous because I would think that I was up against an Empire general that knew what the hell he was doing. Just my opinion. God knows I don't play Empire. The pros to these bad boys are their fantastic support for the Empire. They really fill that gap nicely of what they need. Empire doesn't have to come forward if they're shooting at you, you know what I mean? Many unique and fun choices. You can take it serious, you can take it, make it a laugh. Let's face it, the rocket battery looks hilarious. They're useful in all situations. Doesn't matter what you take, doesn't matter what you need, you have the option. And they're great when teamed up with an engineer. Having the engineer, if you're going to take especially like the organ gun or the rocket battery or the mortar, have an engineer. Even if he's butt naked and he's just standing out there to offer up his ballistic skill and his artillery die reroll, have him out there. He's dirt cheap. There's no reason not to take one if you're going to take more than 2 war machines. The cons, in my opinion, these things are expensive as hell. They're way high costed in my opinion. You can't leave them unprotected. If Fast Cav get a hold of them, if Noblars get a hold of these guys, they're probably going to get blown up, and they're just too expensive to leave undefended. You really do need like a unit of Pistoliers or Outriders right near where they're at, just to try to keep other Fast Cav and Flyers away from them. And they all have the potential to roll a misfire on your artillery. They all use the artillery die. There is no ballistic skill only ones, and that's, in my opinion, really dangerous. Next up is everyone's favorite, the Steam Tank. It's a large target. It has random movement, but we'll get to that in a minute because it varies. It causes terror, and it's unbreakable because it's a steam tank. It doesn't feel, it just eats. It's got some other cool special rules. It's got like Steel Behemoth. Basically, it can fire weapons even if they're move or fire weapons. Even if it moves, it can still fire these weapons. The Steam Tank cannot overrun or pursue, nor can it reform or combat reform. This thing is a behemoth. It gets into a situation and it stays in it until the situation is resolved or it dies. It's also got the special rule, steam points. Basically, at the start of your turns, you declare how many steam points you're going to try to, or how many steam points you're going to generate. The steam points, and it's between 0 and 5 steam points. After your number is declared, you roll an artillery dice. A lot of people that use steam tanks are still rolling a d6. Stop letting them do that, because they'll say, I'm going to generate 4, and since I have 10 wounds, there's nothing I can roll to fail it on a d6, because it has to be over that. They're right. That's the old way to do it. Per the rule, you roll an artillery dice. Do not let steam tank using generals mess this up. It is your job as the opponent, friendly or competition or a competitive game, to point this out to them. It's under the steam point rule, under the steam tank, entry in the book. Make sure you point that out to them. This is huge. Basically, you take the steam points you generated and you add the number on the artillery die. If the number exceeds the steam tank's current wound value, roll a d3 and add the steam tank's generated steam points to the roll. Then consult the steam boiler mishap chart. You can only expend 3 steam points in the only 3 ways, and you can only expend there's 3 different things that you could expend steam points in, and you can only expend 3 steam points per any one way. If that makes any more confusion than it needed to be, I apologize. Basically, one of the ways is the steam engine. For each steam point used in the engine, the steam tank its random movement value goes up by d6. Or d6 inches. If the steam tank charges an enemy in this way, it adds d3 to its impact hits for each steam point used in a movement phase. So, let's say you throw 3 steam points into your steam engine and then charge the guy, use that random movement to slam into a unit. Not only do you do d6 impact hits, but you do an additional 3d3 impact hits on top of that. Remember that, if this guy is going to throw that many steam points into there, he gets an incredible amount of potential impact hits. So be careful with that. If the steam tank, however, is already in close combat in the beginning of its movement phase, it can instead use those steam points in the engine to grind you. For each steam point, the enemy is grinded for d3 strength 6 hits. So basically, it could be anywhere from 1 to 3 d3 strength 6 hits in the movement phase. You don't have to take a break check, but you're going to lose some models. I don't care what you're up against. Next up is the steam gun, and this thing is badass. Basically, the more steam points you use in the gun, the stronger the steam that shoots out of it. For 1 steam point, you get Strength 2 breath weapon. For 2 steam points, you get a Strength 3 breath weapon, and for 3 steam points, you get a Strength 4 breath weapon. This breath weapon can be used more than once per game, and it has a 360-degree arc of fire. But it is a breath weapon, so if you're in close combat and he decides to use it, you're in trouble. 2d6 strength 4 breath weapon every single round, plus the grinding. It can be painful. Finally, we have the steam cannon. It is fired like a cannon. Each steam point used in the cannon extends the range of the shot by 12 inches. So basically, he still uses the artillery die and everything like that. He fires it just like the cannon. However, his max range is 12 inches if he uses 1, 24 inches, and 36. That's where his guess range has to be within. If he wants to put it 13 inches forward and he only uses 1 steam point, he can't. So things like that. Also, the cannon can only be fired directly ahead. It is a straight line from where the cannon is sticking out of the steam cannon. So don't let them say it's my forward arc. That is a damn lie. That is wrong. The cannon fires straight forward. That's it. It's very important that you remember that too, because it is not like cannon like what you're used to seeing on a war hill or on a hill or a war machine hill or whatever. Of course, it's still strength 10, multiple wounds d6, yada yada yada. If a misfire is rolled, the cannon doesn't fire and the steam tank takes d3 wounds. The steam tank cannot grape shot. Very important. I've seen games lost because of the misunderstanding of that rule, and I use misunderstanding loosely. It's important to know thy enemy, and I'm not saying that Empire generals are bad guys or anything like that, but people are people are people, and people like to conveniently forget things sometimes. It is your job as a good opponent to know some of these things. If he goes, I'm going to grape shot you, you go, nope, Steam Cannon can't do that. I heard it on Lord Tremenda's battle report, and there it is under Steam Cannon rule. I wouldn't lie to you intentionally, but I did just read the book, so. The pros of this bad boy, it is very difficult to fight against this thing. Dealing with this bad boy is a little rough. If you don't have Lore Metal or something that ignores armor saves or high toughness and all that stuff, you can have a real problem on your hands with this thing. Another pro is it looks amazing. I really like the steam tank model. I really, really do. And it's very effective in combat as a distraction. You know, you have one on the table and you have an Imperial Griffin on there, for example. Who do you think they're going to shoot at with their cannons first? The steam tank. The Griffin might catch some hell, but more than likely no. Get the steam tank in combat with the biggest unit he has ASAP. I don't care if it's got no armor save barf attacks. Throw him in there. Wherever he can go, wherever he can do, throw him in there as quick as he can. If he's not in combat, you are wrong. If you have access to a steam tank and you play Empire, you should probably have this bad boy in your army. The cons, it is easier to have a boiler meltdown if you bid 4 to 5 points. It only has 10 wounds, and the artillery die has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and misfire. Misfire's bad. So really, really, really look into that. It can be dangerous, and it can be really hard, or it can be really easy to blow yourself up and cause wounds to yourself, which will, make the steam tank harder to use later on in the game because now it's hurting real bad. Laura Life, steam, with the steam tank and stuff like that, could probably help you out a little bit. And then if you don't have any steam points, you don't get to attack with it. So it's kind of a con, in my opinion. Next up is the Luminarch of Hysh, which is the worst name for something like this, possibly. What the hell is a Luminarch? What the hell is a Hysh? I don't know. I like the model. Anyway, it's a large target, and it's got some cool special rules. It's got the Aura of Protection. Basically, the Luminarch and all friendly units within 6 inches have the 6-up ward save. It's got Locus of Hysh, which lets you add 1 die to your Dispel pool as long as you control one of these bad boys. Now, if you have 3 on the table, you still only get 1 Dispel die, so keep that in mind. And then, of course, it's got Solheim's Bolt of Illumination. Basically, it's an innate bound spell, power level 4. It's got a 36-inch range, flaming, strength 8, multiple wounds, D3 attacks, and it penetrates ranks like a bolt thrower. No armor saves are allowed, and if the target is undead, Tomb King, or demonic, you get to re-roll failed to wound rolls. So basically, this thing comes with a mobile bolt thrower that is at strength 8, multiple wounds, flaming, penetrates ranks. This thing is pretty cool, actually. It comes with a laser beam. The pros of this bad boy is the model is so cool. The bound spell at power level 4, it's innate, so there's really no downside to irresistibling it. I like this thing. I don't see why you wouldn't take it in your army if you weren't going to take like regular war machines. Why not take one of these bad boys? Unless you were going magic heavy or something like that. I do like the bubble ward save rule. It's kind of cool to have 6-up ward save on everything that's around you. You're probably not going to win the game because of it, but it's great for that upset roll. You know what I mean? The only cons with this thing is you don't really want to see it getting into any kind of major combat. It's got a 5-up armor and a 6-up ward. That's it. It is a chariot. It does have some impact hits. I think it's strength 5, toughness 5. It's got a handful of wounds, but its real power comes into support with being able to add a dispel dice just for free, being able to give everything within 6 inches a 6-up ward, and being able to fire off its laser beam. It's a cool ass model. I mean, it really is. Take a look at it. I mean, this is an amazing model. They knocked it out of the park with this one. Those horses alone look just like the Juggernaut. I love the wizard. I love the little guy who's driving with the candle. Why the hell do you have a candle? You're on a chariot of light, moron. But I like this thing a lot, and in my opinion, if you're not going to go magic heavy, you should definitely take one, if only for the support and the casting thing. Finally is the Celestial Hurricanum, and I just like saying it like that. I don't know why. It's also a large target, and it's got the special rules Locust of Azure. Add 1 to your power pool if you control a Celestial Hurricanum anywhere on the table. It's also got Portents of Battle. All friendly units within 6 inches have +1 to hit in close combat. That alone, that could be it. That could be the last thing this thing does, and it would be 100% worth taking, because that is an amazing special rule, giving something +1 to hit in close combat just because it's within 6 inches. Totally worth taking it. But it's got a very cool bound spell. It's called the Storm of Shemetek, or whatever, Shemtek, which sounds kind of technological, but I guess this chariot looks kind of technological, so we'll go with that. It's an innate bound spell, power level 4, direct damage, 24-inch range. You basically place a small round template and scatter it d6 inches. The roll on the d6 is used to determine what happens on this chart that they have for it, and the chart has a lot of really cool stuff on it. It's got one crap, but the rest of them is pretty cool. If a hit is rolled on the scatter die, the template doesn't scatter. It's important to note that here, because sometimes there's arguments about it. And then if the unit that's hit with the template has, or if anything is hit with the template and has the fly special rule, it automatically takes an additional d6 strength 4 hits. The chart that you roll on for this bad boy is as follows. On a 1, it's sudden downpour. Basically, the guys get really wet, but nothing else happens. It's no damage. On a 2, you get Ice Shard Tempest. All models hit by the template take a strength 2 hit, and all models touched by the template take -1 to hit in close combat and shooting till your next magic phase. That is pretty good for rolling a 2. Yeah, you're probably not going to do a whole lot of damage, if any, but -1 to hit and shoot until your next magic phase, people take Mark of Nurgle for that alone, and that's just for the -1 to hit. On a 3, you get Raging Tornado. The unit that's under the center hole gets moved in the direction of a rolled scatter dice. That's huge. Could you imagine being able to use this, and here's this bad boy unit about to come and charge into you, and now you've got it so that its rear is facing you. I mean, yeah, you're not going to be able to capitalize on that, but they're going to turn around and face you. Or imagine if, like, the unit had Stupidity or something like that, and then decided to fail that roll and stumbled forward d6 inches, and now you get to charge it in the rear. Oh, Raging Tornado is very fun. And then, of course, you've got on a 4 or a 5, you get Lightning Strike. The model under the hole takes a strength 6 hit. Blah, blah, blah. Words are hard. And all others take a strength 3 hit. So basically, you just get to do some serious damage real quick, which, hey, I'm not going to, for a power level 4 spell, hell yeah. And then on a 6, you take a huge chunk out of the sky and throw it at your enemy. It's called Meteor Strike. The model under the hole takes a strength 8 hit that does d6 wounds, so there's your potential monster destroyer. All other models take a strength 3 hit. So it's not like the end-all be-all. I don't know why it's not 8-4, but hey, I'll take a strength 8 hit with d6 wounds, especially if I'm aiming at something with multiple wounds. Cool little thing for a power level 4. The pros of this bad boy, it's a very cool bound spell. The 6-inch bubble of +1 to hit is amazing. Auto-channeling a power dice is huge, and it's a chariot. That's that. I know the other one is too, but this one's a chariot. I like it. It's a perfect support unit. It really is, and it's a fun model, the perfect centerpiece. I mean, to have this, it's going to be centrally located in your army anyway, because it's got to get that 6-inch bubble to as many units as it can. Very cool model. I really like this thing. The cons, of course, is it has almost no defense. It's got a 5-up armor save. That's it. This bad boy's in heavy armor. Keep it out of combat. And it's not good in close combat at all. I think it has like a max of 3 or 4 attacks. It isn't a chariot. It can do some impact hits if it charges, but if it gets charged, it's in a lot of trouble. So please, 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 if you field this thing, try to keep it out of the base to base as much as you can. That's going to do it for the units. So now let's go over the Empire-only magic items. First and foremost is the huge magic weapon, the Rune Fang. Basically, this thing, if you hit with it, you wound with it. All hits from a Rune Fang auto-wound, and there are no armor saves allowed. Yeah, if they got a warder regen, they can take it, but if they don't, you're just dead. Next up is the Mace of Hellstrom. It's always strikes last, 2-handed weapon. It adds +2 combat and or +2 to strength in your close combat, and it gives you the special rule where the special ability where you can forfeit all your attacks to do 1 mega attack. This attack is resolved at strength 10. It has flaming and it does D3 wounds. It's not worth it. I mean, take a great weapon and get like Flaming Sword of Ruin on or something like that. I don't. This is a crap weapon. It really is. Next up is the Armor of Meteoric Iron. Basically, it gives you a 1-up arm save and a 6-up ward. Congratulations, you have Dragon Armor without the immunity to fire. It's cool, I guess, for the guy that you don't want to spend a whole lot of time getting magic weapons and armor and stuff on. The 1-up, 6-up, that's great. Especially, considering you're probably going to be on foot. Next up is your Helm of the Skaven Slayer. It's a helm which gives you +1 to your whatever your armor save is, and you cause fear. However, against Skaven, you cause terror, yet all the Skaven hate you. Even if you played nothing but Skaven all the time, I don't know why you would take this helm. It's expensive, it's useless. Who the F cares if you cause terror against Skaven? They all hate you. I need 5s to hit you, but I get to re-roll the failed to hits. Thanks. And now, fear, that's great, but there are cheaper and easier ways to make your character and your unit cause fear. It's a stupid item. I don't know why it's in there. Next up is the White Cloak of Ulrich. Basically, it gives you a -1 to hit the wearer in close combat, grants a 5-up ward, and a 2-up ward for flaming. I like this. It is Nurgle with a 5-up ward, and the Dragon Helm thrown in just because. I like this cloak. If you are taking characters and you don't put this on one of them, you're cheating yourself. You should really take it. It's great. It's the Amulet of Endurance. It's the Dragon Helm, or it's the Dragonbane Gem, and it's the Mark of Nurgle, all wrapped up into a cloak. Take this thing. What's wrong with you? Next up is my most hated magic item in the Warhammer world. I call it the identity theft item. Most people call it the Van Horstman Speculum. In a challenge, the wearer must swap strength, toughness, initiative, and the attack characteristics with the individual it's in a challenge with. You cannot choose to not use the speculum, and you must swap all the listed characteristics, not just some of them. This thing is my bane. Do yourself a favor. If you're gonna play Empire, take a level 1 wizard, throw that stupid cloak on him, throw him in your unit of great swords or whatever unit you plan on getting into combat, and have him issue and accept all challenges. He is going to rock face because they're gonna be like, your wizard issues a challenge? I accept with my with my Dragonborn guy. Cool, now I have his stats and he has my level 1 wizard's stats, which means he gets 1 attack at strength 3. Yeah, basically you're epa-screwed. The identity theft item, or Van Horstman Speculum, has been the bane of my existence for many years. I have lost a Greater Demon of Nurgle to a level 1 wizard with that item, so do not underestimate it at all. That item can win games. Next up is the Ring of the Volans. 1 use only, bound spell, power level varies. Choose a magic lore from the BRB, generate a spell from that lore, and you get to cast it once at its lowest casting level as a bound spell. This ring would be cool if it was more than 1 use only, but it's 1 use only. Why? I have access to every lore in the book. I will take a dirt cheap level 1 wizard and do the exact same thing, but I get to use the spell every single turn. I don't understand the purpose of this ring whatsoever. Thanks for throwing it in the book. I hope you didn't spend too much on ink, you morons. I don't even know. By all means, if you have a great use for this ring or something like that, throw it in the comments section. But I will literally be stunned if you're able to change my mind about that ring. Next up is the Griffin Banner. It doubles the rank combat resolution bonus for any unit that it's in, which I think is really cool. However, the downside to that banner is the unit that has it cannot pursue and must hold their ground instead. So that's cool. You're going to win combat. You're not going to be able to capitalize on it when they break. So I guess that's what your detachments would be for. The detachments could go after them, but your regimental unit would have to stand still. And now your detachment units are more than 3 inches away, and they're kind of screwed. Yeah, again, another one of those shoot yourself in the foot type of items. I don't know why they would do that. Next up in final is the Steel Standard. Basically, the unit that has this banner gets to ignore movement penalties for barding and gets to reroll the charge dice results of 1. If you're going to take Demigryphs, or if you're going to take Inner Circle Knights, and you're going to take the Grand Marshal or whatever, you take this banner. It is cheap for what it does. You get +1 to your movement, and you get to reroll charge dice results of 1. You will not fail charges anymore, and you will make a lot more of those long distance ones, those game-changing charges. If you're going to take any kind of cav, and you're going to suit them up, take the steel standard. If you don't, I'm literally going to find you, and I'm going to mess up your eyebrows. I'm going to do it. I'm going to shave one off. That's what I'll do. I'm going to shave one off. No shaving cream, straight and dry. You will cry. I'm a terrible shaver. I'm not really going to do that. Calm down. So here's my final thoughts on the Empire book, and take these with a grain of salt. These are my opinions. These are not facts. I am 100% in love with the Demigryph Knight unit. Sure, they're expensive as hell, but oh, are they good, and oh, are they cool. I love chocobos. I do. I do. How could you not like chocobos? Yeah, if you're playing Empire and you don't play with Demigryph Knights, I think you're just shortchanging yourself. Or you know something I don't. Either way, I don't care. I want you to take them. I like them. Next up is, next up. I'm sorry, I'm confused. The steam tank, it's still pretty cool. Just make sure your opponent is rolling the artillery die and not a regular d6 when generating steam points. There is a huge difference. Although, now that I look at the rule again, I do realize that I said that wrong during the steam tank portion of this, and I'm not going to go back and redo it because editing like that is hard and I'm lazy. You generate the steam points that you nominate, so you can't say 5, but if you do roll a misfire on that chart, you take those steam points that you generated and you add whatever you rolled on the artillery die or something like that, and then you consult this chart, and whatever you end up with on that chart is how bad the boiler is, and if you roll an 8 or higher, you're going to explode. So still be careful. I misunderstood a little bit. I apologize, but yeah, bottom line is the artillery die and their wounds can... basically, if he rolls a misfire, he's going to be screwed. So really watch out for that and make sure he's doing it right. The Celestial Hurricanum is a very, very, very nice support unit. The +1 to hit on top of the Warrior Priest Hatred, on top of any other bonuses that the any Empire unit is just could be unstoppable. I mean, even normal guys, halberdiers, you know, with not a whole lot of defense in a horde formation, with a Hurricanum behind them, possibly the Luminarch behind them, possibly Sigmar's War Shrine near them. I mean, that unit is going to be dangerous, you know, with the, you know, it's rerolling hits, it's got a +1 to hit, it's got a 6-up ward, potentially has hatred, potentially is rerolling wounds, might have a 5-up ward if you get the spell off right. I mean, these support units are what are going to make this army. This is a very, very feng shui type of army. You really need to play it, in my opinion, where everything supports everything else. You need to have the right balance. If you have too much support, you're not going to have enough muscle. If you have too much muscle, you're not going to have enough support, and then your army, your opponent's going to be able to roll you. You really need to kind of get everything to be all yin and yang, but if you can hit that perfection, oh my God, there is not one unit that you will not be. There's not an army that you could that'll be able to stand up against you. It's the potential is there. It's up to you to find that perfect mesh to go with your playstyle. Don't understand or like the Reichsguard. Other than stubborn, they aren't special in any way. You can do the same thing for cheaper with a Warrior Priest in a unit of Inner Circle Knights or a unit of Knightly Order. I mean, Reichsguard rank up there with the Militia in my book. Why are you in the book? You're crap. If you don't take an Imperial Griffin, I believe you're shortchanging yourself. The Imperial Griffin, especially with Blood Roar, is an I win button. It's simply that. It's an I win button. Sure, it's easy to get knocked out from under you. It is possible. I know cannons and bolt throwers are prevalent nowadays, but that's why you take a steam tank. Throw them forward and give them something else to shoot at. You know, you might. If you're going to take a pathetic General of the Empire, you might as well give him the best ride you can give him. It's just my opinion. But if I was going to take a General of the Empire, he would not leave the house without his Imperial Griffin with Blood Roar. I do love the Grand Master. In my opinion, just basic without the Imperial Griffin thrown in there. He's the only Lord choice worth the title Lord. Even the Battle Wizard Lord isn't really much of a Lord. He's just a level 4 caster. I mean, he's worth taking, don't get me wrong, but I would definitely, if I'm looking for a fighty Lord, the Grand Master is going to be taken hands down over that pathetic General every single time without fail. The Warrior Priests, take them. Do it or go play Bretonnian. There's no reason that you don't take Warrior Priests. You don't even have to kit them out. You don't have to kit them out at all. They do everything you want them to do at dirt cheap, naked cost. There's no reason that you should be playing Empire if you don't take Warrior Priests. None. I'm ashamed of you if you're that general that takes Empire and don't take Warrior Priests. There's no excuse for it. There's none. I don't want to hear it. There's no reason for it. Take Warrior Priests. Great Swords, another unit you should take if you want infantry. With detachments and the right support you can give them, they are absolutely terrifying to face. Hatred, potential ward saves, potential re-rolling wounds. They look cool. They smell cool. You know, everything about them is just so cool. To not take them is to sin against Sigmar. And who wants to do that? Other than me. If you're going to take artillery, I would suggest doing it sparingly with these guys. Their artillery is really expensive, over 100 points each. And if the enemy gets a hold of them, they're not stubborn, they're not unbreakable, they're not good in combat. They're going to blow up and die. And that's bad. That's bad because if they get a hold of your War Machine Hill or they get a hold of all your War Machines, you're giving up 300 to 500 victory points easily per game. So if you're going to take artillery, really take them sparingly, or if you're going to take more than 2, you need to have like a unit of Outriders or something like that dedicated to protecting them at all times. That's my opinion. But all in all, I think this is a really cool book. I love the balance. I love what's going on. There's a couple of things I could do without, some of their magic items, a couple of their units, and there's some things I couldn't live without if I played Empire. Imperial Griffins, Great Swordsmen, Demigryph Knights, Steam Tank, the Celestial Hurricanum, the Luminarch of Hysh, the War Alter of Sigmar. I mean, it's just so many cool things, and they're so cheap that you shouldn't have too much problem at 2,500 points fitting everything you want in there. There's a lot of cool lists already out there. And new ones pop up every day. I've seen nothing but cav, I've seen nothing but infantry, and they're all so viable and so well put together. The Imperial Griffins, those guys will not disappoint. Yeah, you're gonna lose them occasionally to, war machines or lucky shooting or magic spells or whatever. But man, when that sucker gets a charge off with Blood Roar and that 500 point unit gets run down because it just failed its terror check, you are literally going to need a cigarette afterwards. Possibly 2, even if you're not a smoker. I do enjoy when I see Empire ranked up against me across the table. I know it's going to be a good game. I know I'm going to get some solid combat out of them. It's not even if it's a gun line, I still enjoy it because I know I'm going to get across. I'm going to have some good time. And what I really like is that I'm not going to see the same Empire army, twice in the same day, even at the same tournament, even if they're all from the same club. There's so many different options and so many different ways to put them all together. Every time you fight Empire, it's like the first time. So that's really cool. But yeah, guys, we've gotten through another army book review. This time Empire, obviously. I don't know if you were paying attention or not. But I enjoyed it. I'm a little tired. I've done a lot of talking. I think I've been talking for close to 2 hours now, and that's a little exhausting. But I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did as well. I hope I intrigued you, got you thinking a little bit, pissed you off, made you excited, whatever. I hope I got an emotional response out of you. That's what I was going for. By all means, if you have a comment, you have a question, you have an opinion, you just want to tell me I'm an epic F-tard and you don't like me anymore, throw it in the comment section. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's get some good debate going. Let's get some rule questioning in here. Let's really dissect the Empire book and make not only our Empire opponents and generals out there better players, but be better opponents for our Empire players, forcing them to up their game a little bit so that in the end we all meet at table 1. That's right, we'll play Triumph and Treachery of table 1 at all the GTs. It'll be a blast. I'll bring drinks. But yeah, guys, as always, questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, put them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as quick as I can. But yeah, guys, thanks.